you need a deeper connection with someone other than social media in order to really know them and know their heart and know their genuineness.
And you're always distracted, then you're not going to be as open to what God could have for you in each and every scenario.
Okay, Jake, so today we are going to be talking about social media. How do you feel about your knowledge on this topic before we get into it a little bit?
I haven't had social media for very long, maybe like a year and a half at this point at most. I think I got it like mid-October of my senior year. So I don't have like a ton of experience, but I'm excited to talk about it. I've been able to see like some of the good things and bad things that come along with social media. So, but I know you've had a vast experience yourself, so I'm excited to hear your viewpoint too.
I mean, I love social media. I'll say that before we even start on like all the bad points about it and everything. Like, I don't know. I've always enjoyed social media. Mainly the posting side of it. I've had my fair share of, countless hours like of scrolling on TikTok and everything. But I don't know. My favorite thing about social media is just reaching other people, I guess. And I've done that with a lot of different, I guess, perspectives. Like I had my TikTok account, the original one, which was just kind of like funny, relatable content. Or I don't know. I'll put quotes around funny because I don't know. I don't think it's that funny anymore. But it was like relatable content. I've had my
Funny to a certain audience. We'll go
yeah, I
with
guess
that.
so. I've had my lifting phase where
Keep going, bro.
I've had my lifting phase where like I would post lifting TikToks and videos of me like flexing in the gym and everything.
Because you're so strong.
Shut up. What else have I done on social media, dude? I've done
Photography.
My photography. That was honestly like the most fun that I've had with social media. Because I basically like I wasn't a photographer, and then one day I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be a photographer today. So, and I was like, I'm also gonna be not only a photographer, but I'm gonna be like a photography influencer. So I just made my photography account and I started posting stuff that I knew people would like, and I gained a bunch of followers. I had people like asking me for advice when I didn't have any real clients. I don't know. So I've had fun with social
You
media.
fooled everybody that you were a photographer.
I was a photographer. I just like wasn't as like experienced as they thought I was, Like I would talk about this is actually the funniest part. I would post videos like how to make photography full time when I like was barely making any money from it, so I wasn't even full time. There's just a lot of funny things I did with photography account. And then obviously now we have King of Hearts, which is definitely like the most different thing that I've done. Like this is one thing that I never would have seen myself doing like a year ago, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's all fun. But yeah, I love social media.
Yeah, it's definitely different for me too, even though I had a podcast before. If you want to look it up, go look up the Men in Hoodies podcast on Instagram. And just you'll be baffled at how awful it is. Like we have maybe posted like one or two reels. And other than that, it was pretty much just posts of like graphics that were not professional, just like stuff off Canva. So yeah, going into this, like this part of social media, this social media world, like I hadn't had much experience either. So yeah, it's exciting to, do this every day and see where it takes us. But I think we're both doing pretty high level stuff now, which is cool because like social media allows you to be able to grow in that way where, like if you were only to stick to one platform, maybe you wouldn't be as creative. But since we're on a bunch of different stuff, it allows us to venture out and, grow ourselves. So I love it. I love social media from that aspect. It's really good.
Yeah, but like I think it's definitely fair to say that there's a lot of like problems that like us as Christians may have when it comes to social media. And I know we both had probably like our own problems like separately. So yeah, like talk about a little bit kind of like struggles that social media has brought up for you, I guess.
Yeah. So my word of the year this year is the word focus. And a primary reason for that is because it's hard for me to focus. And one of the biggest distractions that we have in today's culture, in today's world, is the constant notifications that we're getting or the buzzes that we're getting on our phone. So, I mean, if you even want to put in messages and stuff like that into notifications and social media, like that can count as well. So yeah, I've always been distracted by my phone. I think that's one thing that I've definitely tried to nail down the last couple weeks. I mean, like, even like the last couple of months, it's like say, hey, I need to limit my time not only on social media but also like limit notifications so that every time I get a buzz, I'm not looking at my phone. Because I mean, one of the biggest pet peeves for me is being with someone in person and they are constantly looking at their phone. I'm like, are you so self-obsessed and self-absorbed that you're not even willing just to say no to that? And then, oftentimes I'd catch myself doing that. So I'd be a hypocrite in that way. So I realized I was like, okay, I got to stop this. But it's definitely been the biggest, or I guess the most harmful thing to my focus on the Lord, on my reading, on my prayer. A lot of times I've been prioritizing mental health recently. And when your mental health is not in a good spot and you're always distracted, then you're not going to be as open to what God could have for you in each and every scenario. So if like I'm driving down the road and there could be a homeless guy on the side of the road that the Lord wants me to talk to, maybe give money to, but instead I'm thinking about something that happened the other day and I'm just distracted and I'm not paying attention to God's will. Or I'm on my phone when I'm driving and I'm checking something where I don't see that person. So social media and distractions can definitely be a hindrance to what God wants for you in every moment. So
Social media, like it definitely can be a big distraction. Like that's something that I definitely struggled with. I would highly recommend for anyone that doesn't have like screen time set up. That's definitely something you should do.
absolutely.
And don't set it up yourself. That's not going to work. Don't don't make your own password. That just seems kind of stupid to me.
It is.
But yeah, I mean, I think for me, social media, the biggest struggle that I've had, like in the past, it's definitely been pride. Just because, like I said earlier, like I spend a lot of time on social media trying to, whether it's like build a platform or just go viral, which those are two different things, by the way, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But like, I think pride was definitely the biggest one for me, because I was just so focused on the numbers, and I think I kind of found my worth, I guess, based on how well I was doing on social media, and that's something that I'm happy to have. I think I finally like kind of overcome that, and that's given me like opportunities to do stuff outside of just this, like the table. I'm able to do social media for like our college ministry at our church, which that is sick. Like that's something that I've always dreamed of doing, and I've never really like reached out and asked for the opportunity to do. So I think that figuring out what social media does to you is very important, because you can figure out how to kind of overcome those battles. So you
Yeah.
can use social media in the end for the glory of God, which is kind of what we're called to do with everything. So
Yeah. I think a good thing is that too. I love that you said that everyone's experience with social media is different. Like I think it's a good practice to like take like a day or two and every time you get on social media, like make like a mental memory of what did I do? Like what was my process? Did I just scroll? Did I go to Reels immediately and scroll? Did I just check stories? Did I like look and see if certain people have posted like stuff like that? You need to make sure you understand what your intent is when you get on social media. And I think once you figure that out, that's when you can figure out how much time you need. Because then you'll be like, okay, am I just wasting time on here? Am I just checking it for a certain reason? Or am I getting on it to like, like you said, like do what God wants me to do and post something he wants, or, to check people's that I know are posting the right things. And I know I can be encouraged by that. So I think everybody has a different experience. So I love that you said that, because I think it's so true.
yeah, and like, how do you feel about this?
Okay.
So obviously we spend a lot of time like on social media to post things about God and post things so people can maybe learn more about the Bible and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that all Christians should be doing something like that, or do you think that um, not everyone needs to really be posting about God, but they can still like have some sort of positive impact on social media, like without doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think all Christians should realize how cool of an opportunity it is to, if you use it the right way, like God can use you in that, but also he can teach you a lot of things through social media. So I think all of us should recognize that. But also, social media is not everybody's platform, that they need to be used primarily on. Like a college ministry who's trying to, like you said, reach out to other people and, necessarily get views and like get people to come to their church. Like that's a platform that person has to glorify Christ. But maybe someone else, their time would better be used going from door to door on a street and talking to people. Like that's their form of ministry in a way. So I don't think if you're a Christian, you need to be posting stuff every day. I think it's very easy for that to become more of a legalistic thing and trying to make sure people know that you're a Christian rather than just being a Christian and doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So I think easily it can go to the wrong motive.
Yeah.
So
That's really good.
what do you think about it?
I think there's definitely like a line of, posting Bible verses every day and then also like looking like the rest of the world. I feel like as Christians, we're not supposed to look like the rest of the world. So I think if we're constantly just posting things that, people would look at it and not even be able to tell that you're a Christian in any sort of way, I don't think that's right, personally. So I think that there's definitely like some sort of line that you need to have in your brain on what's okay to post and what's not.
Okay, I agree with you that a lot of times I can go on a profile and I can see like, okay, this person's probably for real. But also, even if someone checks off all the boxes, I don't know if that person's legit because the portrayal that they're putting out on social media may not match real life at all. And some people's it does. Like I know a ton of people who like, hey, their social media matches their real life personality, but a lot of times, for people I don't know, I see that they look like a Christian on social media. I'm like, great, dude, this might be a perfect person to hang out with. And they're not like that. So it goes a case by case basis. There's not like a formula that says, hey, this person legit if they do this. That makes it hard. It's very personal, I feel like, in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that not all Christians are going to post the same stuff on social media.
Yeah.
But I think that brings up a good point because that kind of shows that you can't judge like how you think a person is going to be based on their social media account.
Yeah.
So like you can't just assume that just because this person has a Bible verse in their bio that you and them are going to be best friends or that's your future wife or something like that. I think that kind of shows that honestly social media it makes a lot of sense. It shows that you need a deeper connection with someone other than social media in order to really know them and know their heart and know their genuineness. So I think I think that could be a good thing about social media because it allows you to see who is actually portraying the real, like who they actually are, like online. Because I think that says a lot about a person. Like if they're going to post something about Jesus, like are they actually going to act like it in person? So I think that can kind of help you figure out who you need to be hanging out with or not. So
like how many people have you known that post a ton on social media and they're the most introverted people in the world? Like it's just true. Like it happens all the time. So I agree. I don't think we can use social media to judge who a person is. I think that would be unfair. But also I think, there are obviously great things with social media, but for me, like one of my biggest struggles when I got social media was, like I said, it was focus. Like I got distracted a lot. Like that was one thing, but also it was easy for lust to creep in is because it's like kind of the same thing with YouTube or any other platform. Like social media is smart. Once you look at something and you look at it for longer than you have the other videos, it starts to feed you more of that content. So the more that you scroll and the more that you look, it's going to show you things that you like, right? And that was a problem for me because I allowed that to creep into my life so many times. And that led me to say, okay, I'm just going to delete social media, get rid of it with plans of getting it back. But also I hadn't completely conquered that sin yet in my life. So it was just a temporary fix to an eternal problem that I hadn't fixed yet. So when I got social media back, it was like, oh, wow, I'm going to use social media for the right reasons. I'm going to post the right things. And then when I got it back, those problems creeped in again. So for me, I didn't have to delete social media to get rid of those problems. For me, I had to have a come to Jesus moment to realize that I needed to use the platforms that God's given me for his glory and not just my personal demise when no one was watching. And so that was my thing with it. I didn't get over lust by deleting social media like a lot of people do, but it definitely was a problem for me when I was allowing that issue in my life.
Yeah. So the people that like struggle with lust, this isn't like a big struggle for me when it comes to social media. Like obviously, I have my own struggles with lust, but um, so when people like delete social media, um, does that like actually usually help them in some sort of way? Because I from my experience, um, taking away like your main source of something, typically you find like another way to do
Yep.
it.
Absolutely.
But I just don't know because I know that social media is like a really big one for people that struggle with lust in that sort of way, like when it comes to like Instagram models or something like that.
Yeah.
Just from like knowing that from people that have experienced that.
Like even if you don't have social media or Instagram or YouTube or whatever you use, Safari, like let's say that, even if you don't have that, you can still lust in your mind. You can still lust when you're looking at people in person. So like getting rid of social media doesn't solve your issue. It just limits your options. And I think if you're going to do it that way, you're going to have to get rid of all your options. But the Bible says that we need to be in the world and not of it. So we can't get rid of all of our distractions. That's never going to happen. What we have to do is we have to realize, okay, like I've got to get over this problem, and maybe deleting social media might be a good thing for me for a little bit, but also the things in the world I'm never going to get away from. Like we talked with Jack when he went to school at UT Knoxville, his problems didn't get easier. His problems got a lot harder because he's around drinking and alcohol and girls all the time, and that's something that comes with going to a public university. So he's not going to solve his lustful problems by not going to university. That doesn't make sense. He can't do that. He's not going to become what is it? A nun. Like you can't do that. Right? So instead, he's got to learn how to adapt to that environment and hate his sin even more so that he can approach that environment and not fall into that sinful habit again. So for me, deleting social media wasn't the answer. It was having a kind of like a Paul on the road to Damascus type moment where Jesus comes and he says, "Hey, you've got to give up this lifestyle." And you say, "Yeah, through some scars, through healing from some scars, I'm going to give this up." Because Paul had to take 3 days to heal from those wounds in his eyes. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some hurt, but it definitely is worth it. And I don't know if getting rid of all the things around you is going to help.
Okay, that actually brings up like an interesting memory I have.
Okay.
So when I first got saved, before I got saved, cussing was a big struggle of mine. I said a lot of bad words, but I remember after I got saved, that's one of the things that kind of went away, like relatively fast. And I remember I was like, okay, if I want to keep this up, I need to just kind of get rid of all the things that will kind of bring that temptation back. So one of the things I did actually was deleting Snapchat because I realized that a lot of the cursing that I was doing, it was because I was doing it over text so much. So I basically got rid of Snapchat, so I wasn't like texting those evil words. And it's not like I was cursing people out. It's just like it was such part of like my vocabulary that it would come out of my mouth just in normal sentences. So I do think that it works in some extent to kind of get rid of your options, but really the whole reason that it went away in the first place was the change that I had in my heart, and it was Jesus. So
Yep.
like you can't get rid of anything without allowing Jesus in more, I think.
Yeah.
So
I think that's important too. Like Snapchat and like TikTok, like for some people, they had to delete those completely and never go back because that was their like way to fall. And once they let go of those things, they could chase Jesus more wholeheartedly. For me, that wasn't the case. I ended up chasing other things like instead of Instagram, instead of YouTube, instead of those things. I would chase, other things that were idols in my life too, because that's a big problem I have is idolizing things. And so if I let go of one idol, it doesn't mean that I'm going to just not have idolatry anymore. So that was one thing for me that worked was just like realizing, like you said, Jesus has to come into this scenario. This is a good thing. This is an opportunity for me to have a platform on social media where I can reach people. This is a great gift that I feel like God has given me. So rather than saying, God, I'm not going to use this gift, instead I'm going to give up the thing that's prohibiting me from using this gift in the right way. And once I did that, it was a lot more peaceful, and I felt like I could use it for the good reasons.
So for me, I have a hour limit on YouTube. Wait, okay, I'll get back to that. It sounds like a lot, but I'll get back to it. I have a 10-minute limit on Snapchat, 20-minute limit on TikTok, and a 45-minute limit on Instagram. So in total, that's like 2.5 hours, I think. And those are like the apps that I use the most. But what are yours?
I have, let's see, I have 20 minutes on Instagram. That's pretty much my only thing. Because when I would open my phone, that'd literally be the first thing I pull up. So now it's, instead of doing that, I have my notifications off for Instagram, and I have only 20 minutes.
Wait, you only have a 20-minute limit on Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you don't have TikTok or Snapchat. What about YouTube, huh?
YouTube, I barely use YouTube at all. If I had a limit, I would probably hit it if it was like 20 or 25 minutes a day. If I ever watch YouTube, I'm not kidding. If I watch YouTube, it is either our podcast or it's
poker.
Reels about poker. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Or other podcasts.
The reels about poker are long. I've watched them.
They're like a minute each. Yes. I love poker reels, bro. It's fun to see people's strategies. But yeah, I'd probably hit it every day if it was around 20, 25. But just from that,
I think you would hit it if it was 40. So
you think so? Really?
Yeah.
I don't agree with you.
I guess we could test that after this.
It's okay. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we can add a limit. Hey, if you need to add a limit, go for it, man. Like for anything. Like if you are on an app for too long, especially social media, add a limit. And trust me, like you'll be like, wow, I spend that long on social media every day when you add the limit. So, but also like what's cool about us is like, you know, my password for my phone and I know the password for your phone. And we can't say more time or, you know, put in screen time password. It's like, we're done. You know, it's like that helps a lot because it's like, yeah, if I ever need more time, I have to give Chris a good reason to add time, you know, and usually those don't fly. So,
yeah. So like, obviously sometimes like we're human and we'll go over our limits and stuff. And something that I struggle with, so when we post the reels and everything, post reels and TikToks, I'm typically the one that posts them, specifically TikTok, because you've never had TikTok, and if you know, it's one of those things like if you didn't have it like 2 years ago, then why would you ever download it?
Exactly.
But also because like I have to do the captions and everything on my phone, so like sometimes I'll go over my limits and I'll need like a little extra time so I can post stuff. I mean, obviously, I could be spending my time better and not running out of time beforehand, but that's pretty much like the only exceptions that we give each other. So.
Sometimes Chris acts like a little crybaby when he goes over his limit.
Okay,
wants more time.
Sometimes I get a little upset because like I want to check my notifications and like, but it's okay. It's okay. But anyways,
the notifications part was like in the last like 2 weeks. Like I was like, I got to be done with this. Like I can't just check my phone and check the home screen to see if I got a notification. Like it's the same thing as being on Instagram because I'm still getting everything that I would check anyways. So, you know, I just turn those off and now I don't have to worry about it. But
yeah, but it's okay. We're human and we're growing and we're just learning more every day.
So what's your overall take on social media in general? Like if a non-Christian came up to you and asked like, what are your thoughts on it? Give me a rundown. Do you use it? Like stuff like that. What would you say?
Overall, I think social media will become like whatever you make of it. So I think it could be good or bad for any person. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer. It really just comes down to both your personal convictions and also like what you post, I guess. So.
Yeah. I was fine without social media for 18 years of my life. So I know that I can be fine without it, but also I see the benefit of having it. But you have to be careful to use it for the right reasons. And if you ever feel yourself doing it ever for the wrong reasons, you need to, if it's your way, you need to cut it out, or you need to have a come to Jesus moment. Get on your knees and say, I repent. I'm sorry about this. I want to use this for the right reasons. But you need to be very honest with yourself and your own intentions and get people that will encourage you too. So.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Love it.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We will see you back next week.
Yes, sir.